Welcome to Reddit for Sleep, where stories whisper you to rest. Every night, we bring you 1 hour of real, emotional, and thought-provoking Reddit stories from confessions and Am I the Whole? Dilemmas to deep relationship drama and wholesome life moments. All read in a calm, comforting voice designed to help you unwind, relax, and drift of peacefully. Dim the lights, get cozy, and let your mind wander as we explore the lives, secrets, and stories of everyday people. New bedtime episodes every night. Perfect for sleep, relaxation, or just late night company. Subscribe and let the stories carry you into dreamland. Am I the whole for not inviting my girlfriend to my sister's wedding because I found out she was the reason my last relationship ended? I 29M have been dating my girlfriend, Alina 27F, for just under 2 years. She's funny, charming, supportive, and gorgeous in that free-spirited way that makes you feel like you're standing in the sun when she laughs. We met at a bookstore. Of all places, she noticed the copy of the picture of Dorian Gray I was holding and struck up a conversation. We hit it off instantly, and honestly, being with her has felt like coming up for air after years underwater. I'd been single for a while after a bad breakup with my ex, Maya 28F, who I was with for 5 years. We were together since college, and I thought we were heading toward marriage before she suddenly broke things off, saying she needed to find herself. It devastated me. One day, we were talking about adoption and dog names, and the next she was gone. At the time, I was crushed, confused, and left without closure. She wouldn't talk to me about why she ended things. She ghosted mutual friends and stopped responding to my texts after the initial breakup conversation. I spiraled for months, trying to piece together what I had done wrong. There had been no cheating, no huge fights, no betrayal, at least as far as I knew. My friends told me I just had to let it go, that maybe she really was going through something personal. Eventually, I buried it. Then I met Alina. Being with Alina felt like waking up again. She made me feel desired and seen. She had this way of looking at me like I was the only person in the room. Over the last year, things got serious. She moved into my apartment 6 months ago, met my family, and everyone adored her, especially my sister, Tessa 32F, who became close friends with her surprisingly quickly. Tessa and I are tight. She's always been the protective big sister type, and she told me after Maya left that she hoped I'd find someone better, someone who saw my worth. She liked Alina from the jump and started inviting her to brunches, outings with her fiancé, even girls' nights. It warmed my heart to see them bond. But 2 months ago, Tessa called me and asked me to come over alone. She sounded weird. I thought maybe something had happened with her fiancé, but when I got there, she just looked at me for a long time and said, "You're not going to like what I have to say, but you need to know." She had gone through her old messages while preparing the wedding guest list and stumbled upon a long-forgotten conversation with Alina from before Alina and I ever met. In it, Alina was venting about her feelings for me. Apparently, she had known me while I was still with Maya. I had no idea. She'd been a friend of a friend at a few house parties, and she developed a crush on me. But instead of leaving it at that, she'd actively messaged Maya pretending to be someone else, sending messages that subtly painted me as emotionally distant and flirtatious at those parties. She played the long game, little nudges, planting seeds of doubt, and Maya, already insecure from a tough family situation and struggling with anxiety, believed it. She didn't tell anyone, but after a while, she became convinced I was either emotionally cheating or keeping secrets. She spiraled and broke up with me, convinced I wasn't the person she thought I was. Tessa confronted Alina about it after realizing the timeline and remembering some of the conversations. Alina denied it at first, then broke down crying and admitted it. She swore she never meant for it to go that far, that she was young and stupid and jealous, that she thought Maya was taking me for granted, that she thought if Maya left me, I'd eventually be available, and she could show me how much better she'd be for me. She never expected it to work, and when it did, she said she felt too guilty to ever tell me. But then, as time went on, and we grew close, she thought maybe it was fate, that maybe this was how it was supposed to happen. She begged Tessa not to tell me. Tessa told her to come clean, or she would. Alina didn't. For 2 months, I didn't know. My sister was torn about what to do. Finally, she couldn't take the guilt and told me herself. I don't even remember how I left her house. I think I was numb. I came home and looked at Alina like she was a stranger. I asked her directly, and she didn't deny it. She cried, begged for forgiveness, told me she loved me so much it scared her, that she knew what she did was monstrous, but that people grow and change, and she was terrified to lose me now. That if I wanted her to leave, she would, but she hoped I'd give her a chance to make it right. I told her I needed space. I stayed with Tessa for a week. Then I came back home, and Alina was still there, trying to be normal but walking on eggshells. I didn't kick her out. Maybe part of me didn't want to believe it was real, but I couldn't sleep next to her. I couldn't touch her. I kept thinking about Maya crying in our bedroom that last night, saying she couldn't explain why, but that she felt like I didn't love her the way she needed, that she was losing her mind and couldn't tell what was real anymore. All of that because someone saw what I had and decided she wanted it. Fast forward to now. My sister's wedding is coming up in 3 weeks. She gave me the option of bringing Alina, still saying she wouldn't uninvite her, that she didn't want to make things harder. But I said no. I told Alina I didn't want her there, that this wedding is about love, trust, and new beginnings, and I didn't want to share that space with someone who had violated the most sacred parts of my past. She looked destroyed. She said I was punishing her twice for something she's already apologized for, that she understood not being invited if we'd broken up, but the fact I was still with her, but choosing to exclude her felt cruel. She asked if this was my way of punishing her publicly. I told her it wasn't about punishment. It was about my sister's day and my own boundaries. I didn't want my family pretending everything was okay. I didn't want to smile and fake a dance with someone who had detonated a 5-year relationship just to sit in the wreckage waiting for me to notice her. She since told a few of our mutual friends that I'm emotionally abusing her, that I am making her grovel for something that happened years ago and holding her hostage in the relationship without any affection. She says if I'm so disgusted by what she did, I should break up with her, but I can't bring myself to yet. I don't even know who she is anymore. I keep thinking of the person I fell for, the woman who stroked my hair when my dad had surgery, who spent 2 nights awake helping me prep for a major interview, who memorized my coffee order and always left love notes in my books. But I also see the woman who whispered poison into someone's ear because she wanted me that badly. So, am I the a-hole for not inviting her to the wedding even though we're still technically together? Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my fiancée after she rejected my proposal in front of her ex, then accepted it later in private? I 30M have been with my fiancée, Riley 28F, for 3.5 years. I met her at my best friend's engagement party. She was the maid of honor, and I was the best man. The way we locked eyes across the dance floor is the kind of glitch you'd find in a rom-com. She had this sharp-wit, gorgeous smile, and an addictive confidence that made me fall for her fast. And she didn't make it easy. She was tough, ambitious, and independent. She made me work for every ounce of her affection, and I loved it. We started dating a month later. The first 6 months were wild, constant banter, passionate arguments, spontaneous road trips, the kind of love that burns hot. Eventually it settled into something softer and more secure. We moved in together after a year. I loved her fiercely. I thought she was the one. I knew she had an ex, Liam 30M, who she dated from age 19 to 25. They were college sweethearts and nearly got engaged before breaking up suddenly. She didn't talk much about it, just said it ended badly, and they hadn't spoken in years. I respected that. Everyone has a past. Fast forward to this year. I started planning my proposal in January. I wanted it to be special, so I spent 3 months organizing a rooftop dinner with our close friends and family in Chicago, the city where we had our first real vacation together. I bought a ring that cost more than 2 months' salary. I had her favorite string quartet play a cover of Can't Help Falling in Love. I was all in. But what I didn't know was that her old college friend group was in town that same week, including Liam. I only found out the morning of the proposal. Riley mentioned, almost casually over breakfast, that she'd be seeing some old friends for lunch and might be a little late to dinner. I didn't think much of it. She came back around 4 p.m., got dressed for the evening, kissed me, told me I looked insanely handsome, and we went to the venue. Everything was perfect. The skyline, the music, the lights. At the end of dinner, I got down on one knee in front of everyone, her parents, my parents, our friends, and I asked her to marry me. And she froze. She looked around, looked at the ring, looked back at me. Then she said, I can't. Not right now. There was this horrible silence. My hands started shaking. I was still kneeling. Someone dropped a fork.
I could hear the scraping sound like thunder. I asked, "You can't or you don't want to?" She whispered, "We'll talk later." She walked off the rooftop, heels clacking in slow motion. I was humiliated. My mom started crying. My friends didn't know what to do. I just sat there, still holding the ring box, stunned. That night, I stayed at my friend Max's apartment. Riley texted me around midnight. "I need to explain. Please don't hate me." I didn't respond.
Next day, she came over and told me everything. She had seen Liam that afternoon.
They talked, caught up.
Apparently, it stirred old feelings. She realized she wasn't as over that relationship as she thought.
She said she got confused, panicked.
Didn't want to say yes in front of everyone when her heart was so messy. But then get this, she said she now knew I was the one she wanted.
That saying no made her realize she couldn't lose me. She asked if I would propose again privately this time. No fanfare. I told her I needed time. That was for months ago. We're technically still engaged. Or, I engaged.
We've been doing couples therapy. She's been trying, I'll give her that.
She cut off Liam completely.
Blocked his number.
Showed me the texts.
She planned a new proposal to me, trying to flip the script, just the two of us, on a rainy Tuesday in our apartment, with takeout and candles. And I said yes. I wanted to forgive her. I wanted to believe her confusion was human.
That I mattered. More than a ghost from her past.
That what we had built over 3 years couldn't be unraveled by one lunch with an ex.
I wanted the fairy tale, the redemption arc.
But it hasn't gone away, the humiliation. The image of her walking away while I was on one knee.
The look on her face that night, not confusion.
Regret. I found myself pulling away.
I can't plan the wedding.
I barely look at the ring on her finger. When we have intimacy, I feel
disconnected, like I'm watching myself perform love instead of feeling it.
I don't trust that I am her first choice. I don't even trust she knows what she wants. A few days ago, I told her I might want to call the engagement off.
Not because I didn't love her,
but because I couldn't unsee what happened. She lost it, screamed,
cried,
said I was cruel for dangling the engagement in front of her for months only to pull the rug.
Said I'm the one punishing her now, playing mind games, making her prove herself forever.
That I'm not loving her fully, the way she's been trying to love me. My friends are divided. Half say I should let it go, that love is messy and people make mistakes. That the real story is how she came back.
That I won. The other half says walking away from a public proposal, especially in front of our parents, over a conversation with an ex, was a red flag I should never have ignored. Riley's best friend
messaged me privately and said, "If you still love her, let this be your story. Don't ruin something over one mistake." But is it just one mistake? Or is it a window into who she really is? I don't know anymore. So Reddit am either a hole for not being able to forgive her after what she did, even though she's apologized and wants to move forward. Am I the a hole for refusing to trust my boyfriend again, after he admitted his perfect female best friend confessed her love for him, and he didn't tell me for months? I 27F have been with my boyfriend, Nathan 29M, for 3 years. I truly believed he was it for me. He's the kind of person who makes you feel like the only one in the room when he talks to you. Thoughtful, charming in a way that feels genuine, and ridiculously attentive.
He plans little scavenger hunts for my birthday.
He leaves post-it notes with compliments on my mirror before I wake up. He once stayed up all night with my dad in
even when I told him he didn't have to, but the one part of Nathan I never felt fully safe around. His best friend, Lila 29F. Lila and Nathan met in college. They were roommates for a while in a co-ed housing arrangement. According to him, they were like siblings, and there had never been anything romantic or sexual between them. When I met her early in our relationship, she seemed
polite, distant but polite, beautiful, in a sort of effortless, intimidating way.
She's one of those people who's always in control, well-spoken, quick-witted, and a little too perfect. She never outright insulted me, but she often made comments that felt like subtle digs.
If I laughed too hard at something Nathan said, she'd smirk and say, "He's always been a sucker for easy laughter." Or if I brought him coffee, she'd raise an eyebrow and say, "That's new.
You're training him well." I brought it up to Nathan once early on that she made me feel a little on edge.
He laughed and said I was reading into things. That's just how Lila is.
She's sharp.
But she loves me like a brother. You have nothing to worry about. So I tried not to worry. I got to know her. Invited her to movie nights. Tried to befriend her.
Sometimes she responded with warmth, sometimes with coolness.
I couldn't crack her. Then, 6 months ago, Lila moved back from San Francisco to our city after quitting her job.
She was suddenly everywhere again. Brunches, late night, calls, even a camping trip Nathan took with some college friends that she just happened to tag along on. Nathan would reassure me every time. You know I'd never do anything to hurt you. And I believed him because he never lied to me before, until I found out he had. It happened last month.
I was helping him clean out an old junk drawer, and we found a tiny notebook filled with random to-do lists. I flipped through it, laughing at his old scribbled notes like buy more cereal and fix broken toilet seat. But then I saw one page dated from 4 months ago. Lila confessed.
Said she's loved me for years. Talked about our timing always being off. I told her I loved her as a friend, but it f'd me up. Can't tell her for. She'd never understand. I stared at the page like it had punched me in the chest. I closed the notebook, set it down, and walked out of the apartment without saying a word. He followed me, calling my name, but I couldn't speak.
I felt dizzy,
Shaky.
betrayed in a way I hadn't expected. When I finally calmed down enough to talk, I asked him why he didn't tell me. Why he thought I didn't deserve to know. Something that crucial, his response.
I didn't want to hurt you.
It meant nothing. She got emotional. I told her no. I shut it down.
I didn't want to create drama over something that was already over. I told him it wasn't over.
Because he let her confess her love to him. And then he let me go on hanging out with her, like everything was fine. I brought her birthday gifts. I invited her into our home.
I laughed at her jokes.
And she looked me in the eye every time, knowing she had poured her heart out to the man I loved. I asked him if anything had ever happened between them, even before me. He said no.
Swore on everything.
Said Lila had apparently caught feelings over the years, but never said anything until that moment. That he was shocked. Said he didn't return her feelings, and told her to move on. I asked why he didn't cut her off. He
said, because she's my best friend.
I've known her for over a decade. She was in a vulnerable place.
I didn't want to abandon her. I told him he already abandoned me by choosing to keep a secret like that. He begged me to understand. Said he's been racked with guilt.
That he didn't tell me because he thought I'd leave him, even though he didn't do anything wrong. That he didn't want to make me feel like I had to compete with anyone. The irony. I told him I needed a break. It's been 4 weeks.
We haven't
officially broken up, but I've moved into my sister's spare room.
Nathan's been texting, emailing, even sent a handwritten letter.
He says he'll do anything to regain my trust.
He blocked Lila, sent her a message saying he needed distance and that she crossed a line.
He offered to show me every message between them, but I didn't want to read them.
I didn't want more fuel for the fire already eating at me. Now here's where people start to question me. My friends are divided.
Some say he didn't cheat, that he didn't ask for her confession, that he rejected her, stayed loyal, and just didn't tell me to spare my feelings, that I'm throwing away something beautiful because of my own insecurities. Others say the not telling me part is the betrayal, that if the roles were reversed, if my male best friend told me he was in love with me, and I said nothing to Nathan for months, he'd be devastated. Nathan's MOM, who I adore, called me to say she hopes I can find forgiveness.
That people make mistakes, and his silence came from fear, not malice, but every time I imagine his voice in my head saying, "You have nothing to worry about." I hear it overlaid with that one sentence in his notebook. Can't tell her what. She'd never understand. He was right.
I don't understand. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for not trusting my boyfriend anymore after he kept that kind of secret from me?
Or am I punishing someone for a mistake they made while trying to protect me?
Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my fiancée after she rejected my proposal in front of her ex, then accepted it later in private? I 30M have been with my fiancée, Riley 28F, for 3.5 years. I met her at my best friend's
engagement party. She was the maid of honor, and I was the best man. The way we locked eyes across the dance floor is the kind of glitch you'd find in a OMCOM. She had this sharp-wit, gorgeous smile, and an addictive confidence that made me
fall for her fast.
And she didn't make it easy. She was tough, ambitious, and independent. She made me work for every ounce of her affection, and I loved it. We started dating a month later. The first 6 months were wild, constant banter, passionate arguments, spontaneous road trips, the kind of love that burns hot. Eventually it
settled into something softer and more secure. We moved in together after a year. I loved her fiercely.
I thought she was the one. I knew she had an ex, Liam 30M, who she dated from age 19 to 25. They were college sweethearts and nearly got engaged before breaking up suddenly. She didn't talk much about it, just said it ended badly, and they hadn't spoken in years. I respected that.
Everyone has a past. Fast forward to this year.
I started planning my proposal in January. I wanted it to be special, so I spent 3 months organizing a rooftop dinner with our close friends and family in Chicago, the city where we had our first real vacation together.
I bought a ring that cost more than 2 months' salary.
I had her favorite string quartet play a cover of Can't Help Falling in Love. I was all in. But what I didn't know was that her old college friend group was in town that same week, including Liam. I only found out the morning of the proposal.
Riley mentioned, almost casually over breakfast, that she'd be seeing some old friends for lunch and might be a little late to dinner.
I didn't think much of it.
She came back around 4 p.m., got dressed for the evening, kissed me, told
me I looked insanely handsome, and we went to the venue. Everything was perfect. The skyline, the music, the lights. At the end of dinner, I got down on one knee in front of everyone, her parents, my parents, our friends, and I asked her to marry me. And she froze. She looked around, looked at the ring,
looked back at me. Then she said, I
can't. Not right now. There was this horrible silence. My hands started shaking.
I was still kneeling. Someone dropped a fork.
I could hear the scraping sound like thunder. I asked, you can't or you don't want to? She whispered, we'll talk later. She walked off the rooftop, heels clacking in slow motion. I was humiliated. My mom started crying. My friends didn't know what to do.
I just sat there, still holding the ring box, stunned. That night, I stayed at my friend Max's apartment.
Riley texted me around midnight. I need to explain. Please don't hate me. I didn't respond.
Next day, she came over and told me everything. She had seen Liam that afternoon.
They talked, caught up.
Apparently, it stirred old feelings. She realized she wasn't as over that relationship as she thought.
She said she got confused, panicked.
Didn't want to say yes in front of everyone when her heart was so messy. But then get this, she said she now knew I was the one she wanted.
That saying no made her realize she couldn't lose me. She asked if I would propose again privately this time. No fanfare. I told her I needed time. That was for months ago. We're technically still engaged. Or, I engaged.
We've been doing couples therapy. She's been trying, I'll give her that.
She cut off Liam completely.
Blocked his number.
Showed me the texts.
She planned a new proposal to me, trying to flip the script, just the two of us, on a rainy Tuesday in our apartment, with takeout and candles. And I said yes. I wanted to forgive her. I wanted to believe her confusion was human.
That I mattered. More than a ghost from her past.
That what we had built over 3 years couldn't be unraveled by one lunch with an ex.
I wanted the fairy tale, the redemption arc.
But it hasn't gone away, the humiliation. The image of her walking away while I was on one knee.
The look on her face that night, not confusion.
Regret. I found myself pulling away.
I can't plan the wedding.
I barely look at the ring on her finger. When we have intimacy, I feel
disconnected, like I'm watching myself perform love instead of feeling it.
I don't trust that I am her first choice. I don't even trust she knows what she wants. A few days ago, I told her I might want to call the engagement off.
Not because I didn't love her,
but because I couldn't unsee what happened. She lost it, screamed,
cried,
said I was cruel for dangling the engagement in front of her for months only to pull the rug.
Said I'm the one punishing her now, playing mind games, making her prove herself forever.
That I'm not loving her fully, the way she's been trying to love me. My friends are divided. Half say I should let it go, that love is messy and people make mistakes. That the real story is how she came back.
That I won. The other half says walking away from a public proposal, especially in front of our parents, over a conversation with an ex, was a red flag I should never have ignored. Riley's best friend
messaged me privately and said, if you still love her, let this be your story.
Don't ruin something over one mistake.
But is it just one mistake? Or is it a window into who she really is? I don't know anymore. So Reddit am either a hole for not being able to forgive her after what she did, even though she's apologized and wants to move forward. Am I the hole for refusing to move in with my girlfriend after discovering she kept a secret friendship with her ex who once sabotaged my previous relationship? I 31M have been dating my girlfriend, Erin 29F, for just over 2 years. I thought I knew her inside out.
She's bright, funny, thoughtful in the kind of ways that catch you off guard.
Like when she left handwritten notes in my coat pocket during my busy audit season, or stayed up late testing the lighting angles when I nervously launched a small YouTube channel.
Erin and I aren't perfect, we fight, usually about work-life
balance or me being too stubborn, but she made me believe real love could feel like both passion and peace. I've only said I love you to 2 people in my entire life.
She's the second. We met on a rainy Thursday evening when she stopped me outside a bookstore asking if I had change for parking. I didn't, but I offered to buy her a coffee. Instead,
it turned into a 4-hour conversation, and we've been locked in ever since. I had a long relationship before her. 5 years with someone I thought I was going to marry, my ex, Callie. We were college sweethearts, and we broke up when I found out she'd been emotionally cheating on me with a friend of hers.
Not for unfair cheating, but long, intimate
texts, DMs at weird hours, secret lunches she never mentioned, and that sick pit in your stomach when you realize someone's heart isn't yours anymore. That friend was a guy named Drew. Drew was charming in a fake way.
Always smiling, always touching everyone when he talked. He was the kind of guy who could flirt with your girlfriend in front of you and make you feel like you were being paranoid if you pointed it out. Callie always said they were just friends, but I found messages long, emotional conversations about her doubts about our relationship, about how I didn't get her the way he did.
There were love songs, little hearts.
Nothing
physical I could prove, but it was enough. When I confronted her, she said she wasn't sure what we were anymore and left 2 weeks later. They got together not long after. So yeah, I have a complex about emotional cheating, about people crossing invisible boundaries and claiming ignorance, about trust being weaponized. When Erin and I got serious, I told her everything. I explained how I don't do well with secrets,
how I need openness when it comes to EXCs or former crushes or anything that might ever be a grey area. She promised transparency.
We agreed to tell each other if an ex reached out, and especially if we stayed in touch with someone we'd once had feelings for.
I wasn't asking her to erase her past just to never blindside me with it. Cut to 4 months ago. We were planning to move in together this summer.
Apartment hunting, dividing furniture, joking about which wall the giant star was poster.
Would live on. Life felt stable, full of plans. Then I borrowed her iPad one afternoon because mine died during a Zoom call. She wasn't home.
When I swiped open Safari to Google something, one of her open tabs caught my eye. Best birthday gift ideas for a guy who's hard to shop for. Not strange on its own, my birthday was coming up. But then I noticed the Gmail tab next.
So it had an email draft addressed to someone named Drew. My stomach turned. I opened the email. I know, that's where some people might say I crossed the line.
But I felt a lightning bolt of dread, and I couldn't not look. The draft was her writing. Hey you. I saw that meme you posted and literally snotted out my teeth. It's been too long since we had one of those weird, chaotic meme battles. I was looking at your Amazon wishlist, don't judge me, and thought maybe this would be perfect. You always said that old chessboard reminded you of your dad, so. Anyway, I'm still alive.
Hope you are too.
Erin, that was it.
Short,
friendly,
but intimate. I searched Drew in the inbox, and that's when the pieces clicked. They'd
been emailing for over a year.
Long, spaced out conversations like once every couple months. Sometimes short, sometimes pages long. Sometimes she'd send him music. Sometimes he'd send her poems he wrote. There were no I love yous, but there were phrases like, you always got me better than anyone else, or I miss our
weird little conversations. Or, if things had gone differently, maybe we'd be getting old together by now. And then I saw this from 3 months ago. Drew, you were always the light in every room.
You still are.
If he ever messes up, you know where I am. Erin replied, don't tempt me.
But yeah, you always have that little corner of my heart.
I stared at the screen for 10 straight minutes. I felt sick.
Betrayed. Humiliated. Again, when she got home, I confronted her. She didn't deny it.
She said she meant to tell me, that she just
didn't know how.
That it started innocent. A random message after he saw her tagged in someone's photo. That she knew what Drew had done to me in the past, which was why she hid it. Not because she had feelings for him, but because she didn't want to cause unnecessary stress.
She swore she had no intention of anything beyond friendship, and that she had never emotionally cheated. But what do you even call that?
She cried.
Apologized. said she'd cut him off, showed me a message she sent that night telling Drew not to contact her again.
Blocked his email in front of me.
Deleted every message. I told her I needed space. I didn't yell. I didn't curse.
I just left. I stayed at my brother's place for 2 weeks. When we met again, she begged me to still move in. Said we could.
Rebuild. That she made a mistake, but not a betrayal.
That she never loved him. That it was just nostalgia and curiosity.
That she'd been in a weird mental space during the emails. I told her I couldn't do it.
I couldn't share a home with someone who kept a secret pen pal romance with the very person who wrecked my last serious relationship.
I didn't scream or accuse.
I just said, you knew who he was. You knew what he meant to me.
And you still let him live in your inbox. She lost it.
Told me I was overreacting. That if the roles were reversed and I had emailed an extra joke about memes and memories, she'd be annoyed, not devastated.
That I was being controlling.
That I didn't know how to let go of the past. That she was being punished for not cheating. Her friends who used to love me now say I'm
emotionally immature.
That I've weaponized trauma from my past and can't forgive a well-intentioned mistake.
Her roommate even called me a romantic fascist for believing that love shouldn't include secrets. My brother says I did the right thing. That
love without trust is like a bridge with termites. But I still miss her.
Every day, I haven't blocked her.
We've messaged a few times, but it always ends in sadness. We still haven't officially broken up, just
frozen in limbo. She says I'm the a-hole for not being willing to work through it. I think I might be because maybe, just maybe, if I really loved her,
I'd stay.so.
Reddit.
Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for asking my fiancé to cut contact with his female best friend after I learned she once tried to kiss him while we were dating and he never told me? I 28F have been with my fiancé, Ryan 30M, for 5 years. We met through mutual friends at a summer rooftop party in Chicago, and from the first moment I talked to him, I felt safe in a way I hadn't before.
He listened.
He paid attention.
He remembered small things.
I was coming out of a bad breakup when we met. My ex had emotionally manipulated me and made me feel like I was always overreacting.
Brian was the opposite. He was calm, grounded, affectionate.
We took things slow at first, but within a year, we were living together. By year 3, we were talking marriage.
He proposed to me this past New Year's Eve on the balcony of a snowy cabin with our families cheering behind us. It was perfect. Ryan has a best friend named Camilla 29F.
They've known each other since high school.
She's funny, a bit brash, the kind of person who wears leather jackets in July and always smells like expensive perfume and cigarettes. She's loud, confident, and walks into every room like she owns it.
At first, I was intimidated by her. She had a way of standing just a little too close to Ryan, teasing him in ways that sometimes felt like inside jokes I wasn't part of. But she was never outright rude to me, and Ryan always reassured me that they were strictly platonic. He said she dated women for most of her life, had a complicated relationship with her conservative family, and that he was like a brother to her.
She doesn't see me that way, he told me once, when I asked if anything had ever happened
between them.
It would be like kissing your cousin, so I let it go. We became friendly, even hung out a few times one-on-one. Camilla would send me memes, compliment my outfits, text me about mutual friends.
I tried to accept that they had history, and that not every man-woman friendship had to be a threat. About 6 months ago, we had a joint birthday dinner for Ryan and Camilla.
It was a tradition they'd done for years. Their birthdays are just
a day apart, and she insisted we throw a house party at our place. I helped organize it, made the cake, even curated the playlist.
Camilla got extremely drunk by midnight. I wasn't even upset about it at first. It was her birthday, after all.
But as the night wore on, I noticed her clinging to Ryan more and more.
Sitting on the arm of his chair, whispering things into his ear. Once, I walked into the kitchen and saw her touching his chest, laughing at something while he awkwardly
peeled her hand off.
I gave him a look, and he shrugged like, she's wasted. I let it go again. The next morning, I brought it up. Camilla was kind of all over you last night. He winced, rubbing his face. Yeah, she had too much. I'll talk to her. I asked if it had ever been like that before, if she'd ever crossed a line. He hesitated for a second, then said no, she gets handsy when she drinks, but it's
not like that.
She knows I'm with you.
She respects us. I believed him. Because I always did. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I was at brunch with one of Ryan's old college friends, Elena, who was visiting from New York.
We'd only met
a few times before, but she was warm and friendly and asked how wedding planning was going. I joked about the guest list causing fights and mentioned Camilla in passing. Elena raised her eyebrows. She's still around. Wow, I thought that situation was going to blow up. I asked her what she meant. She blinked, realizing I didn't.
No. Oh,
I mean, Ryan didn't tell you about the New Year's party thing.
like a couple years ago.
I felt my stomach drop.
What thing?
She hesitated. Look, I don't want to start drama.
It's just Camilla tried to kiss him once.
Like a full-on drunken confession. Tried to grab his face and everything. He pushed her off, told her no, and then acted like
Nothing happened.
I figured you knew. I didn't. I didn't know.
And suddenly, 1,000 little moments began stitching themselves together in my head, the way Ryan tensed when Camilla hugged him too long.
How he'd sometimes go quiet after their hangouts. The way he changed the subject any time I brought her up more than once in a conversation. When I got home that night, I confronted him. Did Camilla ever try to kiss you?
He froze, said nothing. I waited.
He finally sighed, looked down at the floor, and nodded once. I felt like I'd been slapped. She tried to kiss me at a New Year's party 2 years ago, he admitted.
We were outside smoking.
She was drunk.
She started rambling about how
our timing was always off, and how she wondered if we'd ever dated, what it would have been like. Then she leaned in.
I stopped her.
Told her no. She apologized the next day and swore it wouldn't happen again. I asked why he didn't tell me. I didn't want you to feel threatened.
I didn't want to lose her as a friend, and I didn't
want to lose you either. I thought I could handle it without making it a thing. But it is a thing, I said.
You lied by omission for 2 years.
You let her stay in our lives, knowing she made a move on you. He said he didn't want to destroy a friendship over one drunken mistake. I asked if he would have been okay if one of my male friends tried to kiss me. And I kept it from him for 2 years. He didn't answer. I told him I wanted Camilla out of
our lives, out of the wedding, out of our home, out of our circle. I didn't want to look at her and wonder what could happen if he hadn't pulled away fast enough. I didn't want to smile at someone who once looked at my future husband like he was hers. He refused. He said that was too extreme.
That Camilla had respected our relationship since then. That she hadn't tried anything since. That cutting her out would be cruel and disproportionate. That she didn't deserve exile for a single misstep. Sir, I gave him an ultimatum. It's her.
Or me. He told me he needed time to think.
That he didn't want to lose me. But he also didn't want to make a decision based on anger. It's been 3 weeks. We haven't spoken since last Friday, when I dropped off my engagement ring at his apartment while he was at work.
I left her.
Note that said, I won't marry someone who protects someone who disrespected me. My phone has been flooded with texts from his friends.
Some say I was right.
That he should have told me.
That keeping that kind of secret is a breach of trust. Others, including Camilla, have said I'm dramatic.
That I let jealousy ruin a 10-year friendship. That Ryan didn't cheat.
That he did the right thing in the moment. And that punishing him for not confessing every single uncomfortable moment is toxic. My mother, a traditional woman, said I should forgive him.
That marriage is about choosing your battles.
That if he didn't
kiss her back, it's not betrayal. But I don't know. It feels like betrayal. Reddit, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for walking out of my boyfriend's birthday dinner after he gave a romantic speech about his first love in front of everyone and it wasn't about me? I 30F have been with my boyfriend Ethan 30M for almost 4 years. We met through work. He was a project manager and I was a UX designer on the same product him. We became friends first, then started dating after a year of flirty banter. Lunch breaks turned into dinner dates and long phone calls that stretched until 2 a.m. He's not flashy or dramatic, but he's consistent,
thoughtful,
dependable in a way that felt like a balm to my chaotic past. I come from a family that measured love in manipulation, silence, and power games.
Ethan, on the other hand, made love feel quiet and safe.
I fell hard. Ethan had a long-term girlfriend before me, named Claire. They were together from their college years into their late 20s, almost 7 years.
I always knew about her. He
was transparent from the beginning. He told me they broke up 2 years before we met, that it ended amicably but painfully, that they simply grew apart and wanted different things.
She was more career-driven. He wanted a family sooner.
She moved to the West Coast.
He stayed behind. I was okay with it.
Honestly, I respected that he could speak about his past maturely.
I never felt like he compared us.
He never made me feel second best. He called me his beginning, his anchor, his second chance. He told me he'd never loved someone the way he loved me, that what we had was adult love, not the naive kind you think will last forever. I believed him .so when his 32nd birthday rolled around, and I decided to throw him a surprise dinner party. I did it with full heart. I invited his closest friends, his parents, his sister, even his co-workers. I booked a private room at his favorite restaurant. I arranged framed photos of us around the room, brought in cupcakes from the bakery where we had our first date, and even had the chef recreate the meal he cooked for me the night. He told me he loved me for the first time. He was overwhelmed. When he walked in, hugged me for a full minute, kissed my temple, told me I was the best thing that ever happened to him, until he gave his speech. It was toward the end of the dinner. Everyone was a little buzzed, full of wine and laughter.
Ethan stood up, holding his glass of bourbon, and thanked everyone for coming.
Then he started talking about growth, about the people who shaped him, about love. He said, "There's someone who taught me how to love." She challenged me, called me out, pushed me to grow.
She wasn't perfect, and neither was I.
But she made me see what I wanted in life.
What I didn't. She showed me the kind of partner I wanted to become.
Claire, if you're watching this later, which I hope you are, you know I am better because of you. The room went quiet. I went cold. I waited for my name, for any acknowledgement that he was, in fact, sitting next to the woman he now claimed to love.
That I had planned this night for him. That I had built a life with him. That I had carried him through unemployment, through his dad's surgery, through his panic attacks and breakdowns. But he didn't mention me. Not once after the toast. He sat down and smiled at me like nothing happened. Everyone tried to return to normal, laughing, clinking glasses. But I felt humiliated. I sat there, plastering a smile, feeling my eyes sting. 10 minutes later, I got up, walked to the coat closet, grabbed my bag, and left. No goodbye, just walked out. I went to my sister's, turned off my phone.
Slept in her guest room with makeup on my pillow, and my heart cracked open. I didn't talk to Ethan until the next afternoon. When I finally turned my phone back on, I had 27 missed calls, over 50 texts.
From him,
from his sister,
from friends, some asking if I was okay, some angry. When I finally picked up, he was crying, said he didn't mean it the way it sounded.
That he was caught up in the moment, that he was talking about how past love taught him to be a better partner to me, that he thought I'd understand the nuance. I told him, "You said her name, you toasted to her.
You didn't even mention me." He said he assumed it was obvious.
That everyone knew how much he loved me, that he didn't think he had to say it, that it was just a nostalgic tribute, not a declaration. I told him that when you're in a room full of people who know both your past and your present, and you choose to lift up your past while your present is sitting there in silence, it sends a message. That message? I am not the one who mattered most. He called me unfair.
Said I embarrassed him, that people were asking if we were breaking up.
That I should have told him how I felt privately, instead of walking out like a drama queen. I
said I didn't walk out to punish him. I walked out because I felt erased. He said I'm insecure and jealous of a memory.
I said, "You made the memory louder than me. We haven't spoken in a week." His sister says he's heartbroken and confused, that he thought he was being mature, acknowledging that people can love more than once, and that doesn't diminish
the present.
That he feels like I shattered the night over a single speech. But my friends say he chose to perform grief for a past relationship instead of celebrating the one he's in.
That the woman who threw him that party deserved a thank you.
A sentence.
A nod.
Something. Now I'm stuck. I don't know if I overreacted. If I let my baggage, my history of feeling replaceable, unchosen cloud what was just a sentimental
moment. Or if I was right to walk away from a man who, when given the stage and the microphone, romanticized someone who wasn't me. So Reddit.
Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I know I was always his second choice and now I want to separate after learning he kept love letters from his ex hidden from me for our entire marriage? I 30 for F have been married to my husband, Marcus, 36M, for almost 8 years. We've been together for 10. We met in our late 20s, both of us coming out of difficult relationships. Marcus had just ended a 6-year relationship with a woman named Sophie, someone he dated all through college and into their mid-20s.
According to him, They were each other's first everything, first love, first heartbreak. She was the one who got away when they couldn't agree on their futures. He wanted stability. She wanted travel and freedom. She broke up
with him to move to Europe and find herself. He was shattered. When I met Marcus, he was quiet, guarded, the kind of man who was kind, helpful, but emotionally elusive. At first, I thought he was just shy. I mistook his stillness for depth,
his hesitations for thoughtfulness.
I later learned they were just scars. He told me about Sophie's 6 months not in great detail, just that it had been serious, that she left, and that it took him a while to move on.
I didn't press.
I had my own X-shaped ghosts too. We agreed we wouldn't let the past interfere with what we were building. Our relationship was slow burning but beautiful.
He proposed after 2 years. We had a quiet wedding, bought a modest home, built a life that was calm, predictable, gentle. He was a good husband, not grand or romantic, but present, the kind who did the grocery runs and remembered to fill up the car, the kind who always came home on time.
I used to think, this is what mature love looks like.
It's not butterflies.
It's breakfast without conflict. I never felt unwanted, but I also never felt
consumed. I used to wonder if that was just adulthood, if all-consuming love was a phase we grow out of,
if stability meant sacrificing intensity.
I told myself that fire burns out, but warmth lasts, but something inside me always itched. Marcus rarely looked at me with the kind of hunger you see in movie scenes.
He never spoke about me with awe. His compliments were mechanical. You look nice. Dinner was good. Thanks for doing the laundry. Still, we were happy, or so I thought, until 3 months ago, when I accidentally found a shoebox in the attic. We'd been renovating the guest room into an office. I was clearing out old storage bins while Marcus was at work.
One of the bins
was sealed, unlabeled. I opened it thinking it was his college stuff. Inside was a plain brown shoebox taped shut.
I'm not proud of this, but I opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them, handwritten, folded with care.
Dated between 2008 and 2013. All from Sophie. They weren't breakup letters, they were love letters.
Passionate, poetic, vivid. Some
written from Paris,
others from Lisbon.
Some read like diary entries, others like confessions. She wrote about the way he looked at her, the way she missed the sound of his laugh, the dreams they had once whispered about having children and dancing barefoot in their kitchen. She called him her soulmate in the wrong decade. She signed off with "Always yours, Sophie." I sat there on the floor for over an hour, reading letter after letter.
My hands were shaking, not just from what was written, but from what it implied. He kept them for over a decade.
Through our entire relationship, through our engagement, through our wedding,
through buying a house together,
through birthdays and anniversaries. Those letters lived in our home, buried in a bean while he held me at night and called me his love. I felt sick when Marcus came home. I didn't confront him right away. I just stared at him.
I watched him walk into the kitchen, kiss my cheek, ask about dinner.
I felt like I was standing across from a stranger.
I didn't know how to say.
I found your heartbreak shrine. It took me a week to bring it up. One night, after he fell asleep on the couch, I put the letters on the coffee table and sat across from him. When he woke up and saw them, he froze. He didn't speak for a full minute. Then he said, "You went through my stuff." I said, "Is that really the part you're focusing on?"
He looked away, rubbed his face, and whispered, "I forgot I
still had them." A lie. No one forgets about something that intimate, that sacred. I asked him why he kept them.
Why he didn't throw them out when we moved in together.
When we got married. When we built a life where those letters no longer belonged. He didn't have an answer. Just silence. Then finally, I didn't want to erase her. That sentence shattered something inside me. He said it like it was obvious.
Like Sophie was a chapter he needed to preserve, even if it meant hiding it from the woman he vowed to build a future with. I asked him point blank, "Have you ever loved me the way you loved her?" He didn't say yes. He said, "I love you." Differently, I said. Differently like less. He said, "Differently like safer." I said, "Did you want to marry her?" He said, "We talked about it." I said, "Would you have, if she hadn't left?" He didn't answer. I cried for hours that night. He tried to comfort me, tried to hold me. I couldn't let him. I told him I needed space, that I was moving into my sister's for a while, that I needed to rethink everything. He begged me not to leave, said I was his present, that he chose me, that he married me. But I told him, "You married me.
but you never let her go. And that's the part that broke me.
Not the letters.
Not even the love he once had for someone else.
But the fact that he held onto her like a talisman, a buried relic that whispered she was the great love story.
You are the safe harbor. I've been staying at my sister's for 10 weeks now.
He calls every night, sends me updates about our cat, asks if I'm eating.
Tells me he's in therapy, that he wants us to try counseling together. Part of me still loves him.
Deeply.
Because he was good to me. Because he never lied in words, only in omission. Because he tried to be the man I needed, even if his heart was never fully mine. But the other part, the part that lies awake at night.
She's asking if it's fair to spend a life being someone's second love, if it's fair to stay with a man who, when asked if he ever would marry his ex, couldn't say no. My mother says,
I am being emotional, that everyone has a past, that men don't always process grief the way women do.
That keeping letters doesn't mean disloyalty, it means memory. But my best friend said something that still echoes in my head. He loved her out loud.
He loves you in maintenance mode. Now I don't know what to do. Reddit, am I the a-hole?
For walking away from a marriage over a box of old letters, and the fear that I was always plan B.
Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé I don't want to get married after discovering she's been emotionally in love with her childhood best friend for our entire relationship and only agreed to marry me after he rejected her? I 31M have been with my fiancé Harper 29F for 6.5 years. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming party, and I swear, I fell for her in the first 10 minutes. She wasn't flashy or overly charming, just warm, witty, and self-possessed.
She asked smart questions. She listened. And when I made her
laugh, it felt like I'd won something. She gave me her number before I even asked. We went out 2 days later, and I knew, even then, this could be it.
She was different.
We clicked, the kind of connection where silences weren't awkward, where I didn't feel like I had to perform.
For a guy like me, someone who'd always felt a little out of sync in relationships, it felt like magic. Our
relationship was slow, intentional, solid, no messy games.
No on and off chaos. We moved in together after 2 years. We got a cat.
We shared finances, talked long-term goals.
She was my best friend, my partner, my person.
I never doubted her love.
Ever. Except now. Everything feels like a lie. There's one person who's always been a fixture in her life. Lime 30M, her childhood best friend. They met when they were 11. Grew up in the same neighborhood. Went
to the same schools until college. She told me early on that he was like a brother to her.
They used to bike to the library together, had sleepovers as teenagers, even traveled through Europe after college with a group of friends. Harper was always transparent about their closeness. She'd tell me when she met up with him, showed me their messages, introduced us a few months into dating. Liam was
fine, polite,
witty. He and I didn't really click, but he never disrespected our relationship.
He was always respectfully present. I never got the sense there was anything romantic there.
At least, I didn't think so. Harper
would light up when she talked about him, but not in a way that alarmed me. I just thought, they're close, and honestly,
I admired it. I admired that they could maintain a platonic friendship that deep without the weirdness. I trusted
her.
I never felt the need to snoop, question, or compete until 2 months ago. She started when I came home early from work. I was feeling sick, had a migraine, and wanted to sleep it off. Harper was in the living room, sitting on the floor, her laptop open, headphones in. She didn't hear me come in. She was crying. I froze. She wasn't sobbing, just quietly crying. Watching something. I thought maybe it was a movie, but when I stepped closer, I saw her screen. It was a video of Liam. He was giving a speech at his sister's wedding, holding a microphone and talking about love and timing and fate. I watched for a moment.
It was a beautiful speech.
But Harper was watching it like it was a religious experience, like she'd watched it 100 times. I didn't say anything, just quietly walked into the bedroom, lay down, and let that seed of doubt bury itself in me. I couldn't let it go. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things I hadn't before. How she'd light up when his name popped up on her phone. How her
tone shifted when she spoke to him, soft, teasing. How when we were talking about honeymoon destinations, she said, "Oh, Liam said Iceland in spring is perfect." Like his opinion was gospel. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid.
Insecure, immature, but something felt off. Then one night, I couldn't sleep.
She was out with friends, and I was just
restless.
I don't know what possessed me, but I opened her old laptop.
She hadn't used it in years. It was in the closet.
I powered it on. It was still locked into her email. And there it was.
Draft folder. Hundreds of unsent emails. Liam. They dated back years.
Some recent. Some from before we even met. They weren't emails she ever sent, just drafts. Confessions.
Memories. Journal entries she addressed to him. I know I shouldn't have read them, but I did. The earliest ones were teenage ramblings talking about
how she watched him kiss another girl in high school and felt like she was drowning.
One from college. I should have told you before we left for separate schools.
But I didn't want to risk losing you. I still don't. The more recent ones. Devastating. I'm happy with Noah.
I really am.
He's kind and steady and safe. But sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if you had just said you loved me that night. Would we have a family by now? Would we live in that little blue house we dreamed about at 17?
I said yes when Noah proposed.
And all I could think about was how you hugged me last month. The way you held me for 1 second too long. Did you feel it too? Or was that just me clinging to the past? I hate myself for loving two people at once.
But only one of them ever loved me back. I stopped reading after that. I felt sick. Betrayed. Hollow. She never cheated. Not physically.
But she never let me in fully.
Some part of her heart had
always belonged to someone else.
I had been sharing her, unknowingly, for 6 years. The next morning, I confronted her. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just asked, if Liam had asked you to be with him before I proposed, would you have said yes? She went pale. Didn't speak. Didn't deny it. She whispered, I don't know. That was all I needed. I packed a bag. Went to stay at my brother's.
Haven't been home since. That was 8 weeks ago. She's called. Messaged. Begged me to talk.
Said those letters were just therapy.
That she never acted on them.
That she chose me.
That she loves me. But all I can think about is that I wasn't the first choice. I was the consolation. And I don't know how to unknow that. Our wedding is in for months. People have started asking questions. Her MOM texted me, saying I'm being immature. That all women have a what-if guy in their head.
That real love is about what you choose, not what you fantasize about. My MOM says I'm right to walk away.
That marriage without emotional exclusivity is just a slow burn heartbreak. Harper says I'm being unfair. That she never cheated. That I am throwing away something real over emotions that never left a draft folder. I don't know. I love her.
God, I love her. But I don't know if I can walk down that aisle knowing I was plan BN.
That she only said yes because Liam didn't ask her to say yes first. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my husband after reconnecting with the man I was in love with before we got married, who I thought had ghosted me, but was actually sent away by my parents? Let me preface this by saying I know how this sounds.
I'm not a cheater. I never planned for this to happen.
But now my entire life feels like it's built on a foundation I did choose, and every day I spend trying to do the right thing feels more like a betrayal to myself.
And now I don't know who I am anymore. I 38F have been married to my husband, Brian 40M, for 14 years. We have 2 kids, Emma 12 and Jack 9. On paper, we're the perfect family.
Stable income, good school district, vacations once a year, community BBQs. We're the kind of people who wave at neighbors and donate to school fundraisers. Brian is a good man.
Predictable, consistent, pragmatic.
He makes our mortgage payments
on time, never forgets to pick up the kids, and loves them deeply. But I didn't marry him because I was in love with him. I married him because the person I did love disappeared from my life without explanation when I was 23. His name was Lucas. We met when I was 20, working at a bookstore CF during college. Lucas was 24, in grad school, soft-spoken, with the kind of intense gaze that made you feel like you were the only person in the room.
He was nothing like the frat guys I dated.
He loved poetry.
He quoted Rilke and Neruda. He'd bring me obscure novels and scribble notes in the margins. We fell into each other fast to people who didn't just fall in love, but found each other, like we'd been written for the same book. My parents didn't like him. They said he was aimless.
That he wasn't ambitious enough, that he wasn't a provider. He came from a working class background and didn't have the polish they wanted for their only daughter. My father, a corporate attorney, once called him a glorified barista with a master's degree in failure. Still, I loved him
fiercely,
and he loved me. At least, I thought so. We talked about moving in together.
Lucas had just gotten a job, offered to teach English at a community college out of state, and we were planning to go together after I graduated.
I was already looking at apartments. We were even talking about kids someday. Then one day, he was just gone. And no call.
No text.
Nothing. I waited. I panicked.
I drove to his apartment.
It was empty.
I called his best friend, who said he had no idea where Lucas went.
I tried everything. After 2 weeks, I started getting worried he might have died.
I called every hospital in the area.
Nothing.
Then came the worst part. My mother told me. Maybe he realized it wasn't going to work and left.
You're better off. I cried for weeks.
Fell into a depression.
And then, 3 months later, I found out from a mutual friend that Lucas had moved to another state. No forwarding address. No goodbye. Nothing. I was gutted. It took me years to
recover.
Even after I started dating Brian, I'd still think about Lucas sometimes. It felt like a wound that never properly scabbed.
But Brian was good to me.
Stable. He didn't make my heart race, but he made me feel safe.
My parents adored him, and after years of heartbreak and therapy, safety felt like a reasonable thing to chase. We got married when I was 24. Had Emma.
2 years later, then Jack. For the most part, our life was
fine, quiet,
routine. We never fought much, never screamed,
but also never let each other up. We were functional partners, like CEO managers of a family business.
We had intimacy.
Yes, but not desire.
Not fire, and somewhere deep down, I always wondered what had really happened with Lucas. Fast forward to last year. I was attending a teacher's conference in another city.
I'm a high school literature teacher now, ironic, right?
One of the
guest speakers,
Lucas. When I saw his name on the program, I swear my vision blurred.
I thought I was hallucinating. He walked on stage.
Still soft-spoken, still magnetic. His hair had streaks of grey now, and he wore glasses.
But it was him.
Older, more refined, but unmistakably him. After the panel, I waited. My hands were shaking. When he saw me, his mouth fell open.
Like he couldn't breathe. We talked for hours in the hotel bar. That's when I learned the truth. When Lucas had accepted that teaching job in another state, he'd planned to propose. He'd even bought a ring.
But before he could tell me, my
father had shown up at his apartment. Yes,
my father. Apparently, my father offered Lucas a deal. If he left me quietly, without explanation, he would help Lucas pay off his student loans. He framed it as a business proposal. Said that if Lucas really loved me, he'd do what was best for me, which, according to him, was not being with someone like Lucas. Lucas said he was furious.
That he told my father to leave. But then my father pulled out old text messages I'd sent to friends. Things I'd said during fights, moments when I doubted the relationship. He spun them to make it seem like I was having second thoughts. And the worst part, he threatened to cut me off financially, to sabotage my tuition, to make things hard for me if Lucas stayed in my life. So Lucas left. Not because he didn't love me, but because he thought he was protecting me. He said he regretted it every day. We sat there, two strangers who used to be soulmates, now years apart, filled with grief. I didn't sleep that night. We didn't kiss, didn't touch, but I felt something in me collapse.
Like the scaffolding, I built my life on this version of events I believed for 15 years had been a lie. Since then, we've been talking at first, just emails, then calls,
then video chats. He's single.
No kids. He teaches at a university now, still writes poetry.
He says he never stops thinking about me, that no one ever measured up. Meanwhile, I come home to a husband who has no idea that something inside me is unraveling. I haven't done anything physical with
Lucas,
but emotionally,
I'm in dangerous territory. And here's the part that makes me question everything. For the first time in years, I feel alive. Like I'm not just someone's wife and mother.
Like I'm me again. Lucas reminds me of who I was before I compromised.
Everything. He asked if I would ever consider starting over. He didn't pressure me.
He said he knows it's complicated, that he doesn't expect anything, but he still loves me. And I still love him. I've started seeing a therapist. I told her everything. She said I need to ask myself what kind of life I want to live and what
I'm willing to destroy to get it. And now I'm here,
sitting in a quiet house. Brian is upstairs reading to Jack.
Emma is texting her friends. And I'm wondering if I'm the villain in this story. I haven't told Brian yet. About Lucas. About
my doubts.
About the truth of how our marriage even started, because if I hadn't been broken by Lucas's disappearance, I never would have married Brian. That's the truth. And maybe that makes me a monster. But I'm also a woman who gave up a love.
story without even knowing she had a choice. So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my good, stable husband after learning that the only reason I married him was because the man I truly loved was pushed out of my life? Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I don't love him anymore after 15 years of marriage and 2 kids? Because I fell in love with the man who helped me feel alive again. I 37F never thought I'd write something like this.
I've been a silent lurker on this subreddit for years, reading stories while folding laundry, rocking babies to sleep, waiting outside ballet practice or soccer games. And now I'm here, writing one of my own, feeling like I've somehow become the villain in someone else's story. Maybe my own. I've been married to my husband, James 41M, for 15 years.
We have 2 kids, Lily 13 and Ben 9.
From the outside, we're what you'd call a solid family. He's an engineer. I teach 2nd grade.
We own a house in a decent suburb. 2 cars, a golden retriever.
We host holiday dinners.
We show up to parent-teacher nights. Our photo albums are full of matching pajamas, birthday cakes, zoo trips, and Easter egg hunts. But what people don't see is the silence.
The weight. The slow erosion of something that used to be bright and fierce and loving into something functional,
flat, dutiful. I used to think we were just going through a phase, that the stress of parenting, work, bills, the never-ending logistics of life would pass, that when the kids got older, we'd find each other again. But we did in single quotes It started small. Fewer kisses, less eye contact.
He stopped asking how my day was. I stopped bothering to tell him. Our conversations became logistical.
Did you call the plumber? Can you pick up the groceries? Ben has soccer at 4. Even our fights were muted, dry, cold, like 2 HR reps negotiating boundaries. The intimacy faded too.
He stopped touching me unless it was routine. Peck goodbye, a hand on my back as he passed. No passion.
No hunger.
Just habit. I asked, begged, tried to revive it.
He'd apologize, say he was tired, stressed. He always promised to do better, but it never came. Eventually, I stopped asking. I started going through the motions. Smile for the kids. Plan birthday parties.
Help with homework.
Pretend everything was fine because, in a way, it was.
We
weren't screaming at each other. No infidelity. No abuse.
Just emptiness. Then last summer, I signed up for a creative writing course at the community center.
I hadn't written anything since college, but I missed it.
I missed me, that's where. I met Ian 39M. He was one of the instructors, funny, disheveled in that artsy way, passionate about storytelling. During breaks, we'd chat. At first, it was casual books, movies, teaching.
Then we started exchanging emails, short critiques, jokes. He made me laugh.
He noticed things, my observations, my writing style, the way I twisted metaphors. He remembered stories I told in passing. He asked questions.
Listened. I felt seen for the first time in years. I started dressing differently when I went to class.
Not in a scandalous way, just more thoughtfully. I wore lipstick again. I curled
my hair.
I started looking at myself in the mirror and recognizing the woman I used to be. One night after class, we walked to the parking lot and kept talking.
For hours, we sat on the hood of my car under the streetlight.
I told him how I used to want
to write novels.
He told me about a failed marriage, how he lost himself in someone else's expectations, how he finally started living on his own terms when he said, "You're not invisible." You know, I started crying that night. I went home and lay next to my husband while he snored, and for the first time in years, I felt like I couldn't breathe. It didn't become physical right away. We emailed. We met for coffee.
We talked.
So much talking.
About art, life, regret.
He made me feel like I mattered outside of being a mother or wife.
Like I was a person again. Eventually, it escalated. Yes, we
kissed. Then more. We didn't sleep together for a long time.
It wasn't about sex. It was emotional. Too emotional.
Every time I touched him, it felt like lighting a match inside a gas chamber. I told myself I was wrong, that I had a good husband, that I was just starved for attention, but I wasn't just lonely. I was forgotten. I started to imagine a life within. Quiet mornings,
shared books,
conversations that didn't feel like meetings. He'd joke about us running away together, and I'd laugh, but some dark, buried part of me wanted it. And then Ben had a medical scare. Nothing fatal, but scary enough.
Hospital visits, sleepless nights, fear.
And James was amazing. He stayed up with me, held my hand, made me coffee, read to Ben until he passed out.
For a week, I saw glimpses of the man I married, and I felt horrible. I broke things off with Ian,
Told him I couldn't do it, that I had a family.
that I'd made vows. He said he understood, but I saw the pain in his eyes. I threw myself back into the marriage,
Tried again.
planned a weekend away.
Wrote James a letter pouring my heart out. Told him I missed him, that I still wanted us. He read it.
Said thank you.
Hugged me. And nothing changed. 2 months later, it was like the letter never happened. And
Now, it's been 8 months since I last saw Ian. He still sends the occasional email.
a link to an article.
A quote from a poem. No pressure.
Just a reminder that he still exists. James still doesn't ask how my day was. I sat on the back porch last week watching Lily do her homework. And I thought, is this it? Is this the life I'm supposed to die in?
So 2 nights ago, I told James I don't love him anymore. He didn't scream.
He didn't cry.
He just stared at me and said, I figured. That hurt more than anything. We haven't talked since. We're coexisting in this eerie quiet.
The kids don't know.
I sleep in the guest room now. My friends are divided.
Half.
Say I've done everything to fix the marriage, and if I'm that miserable, I should leave. The other half say I'm being selfish, that love changes, that no one stays passionate forever, that leaving a stable marriage for feelings is reckless and will destroy my kids' lives. James's sister, who I've always been close to, told me I should fake it for the kids until they're older, but I feel like I'm dying slowly, and I'm not sure how much longer I can fake it before something in me breaks. So Reddit. Here I am. Am I the a-hole for falling in love with someone else, trying to make my marriage work, and now wanting to leave because I can't keep pretending
Anymore?